Hagadol Shabbos to everybody. The annual Shabbos Hagadol Derashah sermon has always been one of the main speeches of the year in every Jewish congregation. In the towns they used to gather, they would gather from all the little shtibuch, the little shuls, to the main shul to hear the chief rabbi speak. A mix of halacha and drasha, thoughts to prepare for Pesach. The halacha we sent by the LBS, the Lido Shul Pesach guide, by email or WhatsApp, printed. The drush, the mental and emotional spiritual prep, we'll try to address now in a few moments. We're in very, very difficult times, globally. I zoomed in the past 24 hours to two different levayas, two funerals. A senior rabbi from Queens, who's the spiritual head of the Chazak organization that we've hosted events from here in this shul, and a young father and husband from North Woodmere. The latter I didn't know at all, but being a local person, I just felt that I had to participate, even just a little bit on Zoom. It's Achenu B'nai Yisrael, it's our family. There's so many people that are sick, so many who are nifter or passed away now. We can't ignore it. But to speak about it, even if I wanted to, I don't believe I can. It's just too painful. We need to rise above it, to hold ourselves together over the sickness, to pass over it, the isolations, over the lack of shul, over the upcoming first-in-a-lifetime Pesach, perhaps first time in history that globally, internationally, there wasn't a normal Pesach. It was hard to find a minyan anywhere on the globe now. The financial stress, literally the breakdown of society as we know it and as we knew it. We need to prepare ourselves to be misameach, to be happy and celebrate on Pesach, to celebrate the cherus, the freedom of Pesach, and prepare ourselves to survive the crisis, to prepare for the post-corona stage. It won't be the same world post-corona. We can't be the same people either. We're growing stronger and stronger in it. Differ from the rest, be strong in life's test. That should be our motto. Differ from the rest, be strong in life's test. The Majitz Rebbe, Reb Shul Yedid Yatal, was once observed in the middle of the Holocaust, in the middle of World War II. And he appeared to be very serene, very calm, relaxed. So they said to him, Rebbe, how could you not be worried and stressed out, fearful, anxious, frightened? The world's falling apart. That was the times. We can't even come close to that, Baruch Hashem, in our current crisis. And he looked at these Yidden and he said to them, I'll tell you the truth, I'm just as worried, just as frightened as you are. Just like everyone else. But I have a small little tabak pushka, a little snuff box, a little box. And I put all my worries into that little jar. And once a day, for 10 minutes, I take out the jar, I open it up. And in those minutes, I'm frightened, I'm worried, I'm scared like everybody else. But afterwards, I close the tabak pushka again and I tell Hashem, you hold this tabak pushka for me. Hold it in your hands, Tat in Himmel, Father in heaven, Halt stark. You hold it in your strong hands. You see, said the Rebbe, that's how come I don't have to be anxious all day. I put it into Hashem's hands. You know how much that tabak pushka will be worth these days? Millions. Everybody would want to buy one. You just keep on marching and God will carry you through. That's exactly what happened by the Yamsuf. They came to the Red Sea, they came out of Egypt, Pesach night. And they were chased to the Red Sea. They got there in Shvi Shel Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach. And it was a crisis. They had no choice. So they jumped. Knowing that they were holding on to God's hand. And split it did. Miracle upon miracles. Not just split, but zoom, they experienced one of the greatest miracles, the very birth of the Jewish nation. As a matter of fact, that experience of coming out of the canals of the Yamsuf, the canals of the Red Sea, is likened to a child being born from his mother. That was when we were born and we came out to be a nation of our own. They jumped in and they marched on because they knew Hashem was holding them. I was thinking, because it's something that bothers me tremendously, that perhaps it could be that one thing that we should learn, that we must learn, that we must master, is the skill to focus, to stay on course. We live in an ADD society, running, going, everything happens at the click of a mouse, the touch of a smartphone, Zoom, apps, Apple, everything happens in moments. Messages fly around the globe, true, false, it makes no difference. People expect it all, shipping from anywhere, traveling, all the time we're on slowdown, lockdown, slowdown. Even Amazon Prime is taking up to a month to ship some items. We have much more time at home to think. It's tough, it is, but we're also very lucky. Remember the Holocaust. They, if and when they even had a chance to get matzahs, they had to sacrifice their rations, risk their lives to do that mitzvah. We have an issue, we can order it online, some need to have it delivered, but we have it all. Elie Wiesel, or Weasel, the famed writer and survivor. And not to compare, we can't compare the current crisis that we have to the Holocaust, but this is something also we've never experienced until now. And listen to this, what's written in the lessons from Professor Elie Wiesel's classroom. Even in the camps, and I quote, even in the camps, I saw kindness and goodness. I saw people encourage others with kind words they could barely speak. I saw people pray in spite of what to many was God's absence. I saw a father give his last piece of bread to his son, and I saw the son give it right back to the father. Prisoners tried to protect those who are weaker from the guards. That was the revenge on the enemy. The enemy tried to dehumanize people, but succeeded only in dehumanizing himself. And in 1945, the Jews came out of the ghettos and forests. The partisans had guns and weapons. They could have set the world on fire. They could have put Europe into flames. But it didn't happen. They saw victory through life. They advocated hope and not revenge, with very few exceptions. Survivors as a group advocated hope and not despair. Generosity, not bitterness. Gratitude, not violence. They chose to have families, to rebuild the decimated communities, to become philanthropists and become doctors to help others. So many people became heroes in the midst of the Holocaust. And as he concludes there, and there's still so much we can do. What bothers me is the attention that the bad and the negative sometimes gets during time of crisis. We have unbelievable, and I guarantee you unmatched goodness going on in our Jewish community worldwide. We always do. The safest community, the most caring, the most law-abiding, the most honest, ahead of any other religious group. We reacted to this crisis, shutting our institutions. And it seems clear that we prevented the spread even more, especially in the places that did so right away. But we didn't go hide. We didn't go isolate completely. No, we were all over, virtually, distanced, but all over each other, helping each other by phone, by email, by computer, by Zoom, whatever we can to lift people's spirits, to help each other, take care of our brethren's needs. It's astounding. Focus on that. Don't be distracted by small pockets that exist everywhere in the world. People who missed the boat or jumped on rather late. By the extreme ends over here and over there. Why be busy with those who didn't distance, who didn't behave, even publicly, even a doctor? If it's interesting or someone's upset by something, there's no right to spread that lashon hara and go around. There's just no such thing. It has no place. And it's recklessly foolish as well. It ends up in the wrong hands with the anti-Semites and the press, giving them the grounds for false negative portrayals that we, if we look at ourselves, know is not true. Let us not be distracted. And I must say, if you haven't yet seen the excellent video of Michael Rothschild speaking about lashon hara and the pandemic, that Yossi Wexler shared on one group, Yossi Younger shared it, then you should take a look at it. So what if there was one Jew? Think about it. What if there was one Jew who Nebuch, he wasn't honest, he hid some masks to make a profit somewhere, or some shul somewhere didn't close on time when they should have, or some holy, quote-unquote, fool, or someone slow on the pickup tried to make a minyan. Shameful. Shame we don't advertise or focus on. We look away embarrassed, and we do more good to make up for it. There was hundreds, if not thousands, who donated free equipment and gear to the healthcare system. Thousands who volunteered and volunteer on a daily basis. A Jewish company gave up its patent worth millions of dollars on ventilators to save lives. Not just the patent, they publicized their proprietary manufacturing procedures so others can copy them. Only a Jew. That's who we are. But let's think about it. It's not just now. There's always negative things. There's always people who misstep and the people who misspeak, and some people are consumed with it. Always looking for it. In every community, in the Jewish community, even more so in the non. The negative, the problem, the not so nice, the agitator. So that doesn't define us. Doesn't define Judaism, doesn't define the Yiddish community, doesn't define society at large either. And it should not disrupt us and take our attention away from the good, away from the task at hand. One cranky customer in a mall doesn't make the whole mall unpleasant unless you make it your business to go into that store and stare at them and video it and share it. Look away if you can. Remove it if you must. Ignore it. Don't allow the negative, the Bali Lashon Hara, the Motzi Shema to distract us from the joys and the good of life and from the opportunity to grow, to learn, to grow stronger and grow better. And don't allow the distraction to distract us from our Pesach. Let's use this Pesach to look at Klal Yisrael, look at our Jewish people as a whole. Observe how beautiful it is, how people are trying so hard to observe Pesach, even under the scepter of a Magefa, of a plague, a pandemic that causes death. Look at how Yiddim are helping each other, shopping for each other. How they're trying to make sure that families under stress and duress can make it to Pesach. And even while everybody on their own is in a stressed out state, homebound, locked down, isolated, quarantined, we're still transcending themselves for others. Is there any nation like Klal Yisrael? Is there any Pesach that's as precious as this one? Not in recent years. It's perhaps promising to be one of the greatest Pesachs that we've ever seen in the last several years at the least. Control our focus. Dwell on our potential and achievements and leave the worries aside in the tabak pushka when we can. Pass over it. Leave that to Hashem. Avadai when we came out of Mitzrayim, Hashem told us, Avadai you're my servants. You're here to serve me. V'lo avadim la'avadim. You're not here to serve my other servants. You directly are here for me. You can rely on me. That was Pesach. That's its essence. That's what it's about. That's what freedom means. That's what Cherus is. From the very first Passover in Egypt, when there was a plague deadlier than the Corona plague, every household had somebody dead, the eldest. And if the dad was the eldest or the mom, there was 2 or even 3. But the Jews were passed over. Which ones? The ones, eerily, the ones who relied on Hashem. They followed His instructions. Go inside your house, as we spoke about the other time, just like now. Stay inside your house, v'lo yamusu. Stay inside so you should not die. Mask your front door with the Dam Pesach, with the Korban Pesach. Keep out the plague. And then we went down to the Yam Suf, to the sea. We were struck, stranded, chased, helpless. We held on to Hashem's hands and we jumped right in. Literally. Because if we were supposed to be saved, so we were saved. We did all we could. We did what we call our hishtadlus. We did our part. We masked as we were supposed to. We stayed inside as we were supposed to. We ran when we were supposed to. We did our best possible effort. When we have done that, we can drop our worries in the tabak pushka. Drop it in that little box and close it. And give it to Hashem to hold your worries while we celebrate our Seder. While we celebrate a Seder worry-free. That's how we could do it this year. To celebrate Pesach, yes, differently than usual. Not the same family celebrations, not coming home from Shul. But we celebrate, we do, because we realize that we're not subservient to the others. We're not subservient to anybody but Hashem. We're in the hands of Hashem Himself, and He will decide if it should happen and what should should not. We have the time now in this crisis, this unique Pesach, to focus, to learn how to focus on the good, on the opportunity to sacrifice, to make the most of our Pesach positively. Rav Chaim Brisker, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik would relate the following mashal. Petrov, a simple businessman who sold pots in Russia. Comes a day he's got to travel to the marketplace. He hires a Hagadol, he hires himself a wagon driver, another simpleton, to take it to some distant city where the suppliers were. It's a long trip, and the Russian nights were bitter cold. So to warm himself up, our friend Petrov, he takes himself out a bottle of vodka like all the Russians did, and he gulps down a few gulps. And then a few more. And Petrov falls into a deep sleep. Not used to drinking much. He originally wasn't from Russia, but from somewhere else. He wakes up to what him was what moments later, and he sees it's dark outside. So he takes another few shots, and he falls back asleep. Wakes up hours later, and it's still dark outside. Takes another few shots, and he falls back asleep again. And he wakes up the following night, having slept through the day, and it's still dark outside. So Petrov gives a shout to the wagon driver, Borislav. He grumbles. This is so very agitating. This Russian night is never end. Crazy long freezing night. You drunken fool, Borislav tells Petrov. It's not the same night when we started. It's 3 days later. You've been drunk, sleeping through it all. The first, the second, and the third night. Said Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, we also must make sure not to squander the opportunity, not to fall asleep and not to become preoccupied in a live walking sleep, losing our focus on what we could do and on the good of things. But we must control our focus. Reb Shlomo Halberstam Zechrona Livracha once came to Baron Rothschild, and the Baron greeted him, a famous rabbi with immense honor. And he says, Rabbi, it's almost Pesach. Let me show you, Rabbi. Look what I have over here. I have this beautiful house. And you see in the back, the smaller house, I built myself a Pesach house. Not a Pesach kitchen, a Pesach house. Like this, I'm guaranteed there's no chametz in there. Only go in it for 1 week a year, only on Pesach. No chametz ever enters the house. Perfectly clean. The Baron noticed the Rebbe didn't seem to react, didn't seem impressed. So he says to him, aren't you impressed with this chomer, the stringency? Thankfully I could afford it. The Rebbe says, I'll tell you. My grandfather was the San Zerav. And as you know, he wasn't a wealthy person, the San Zerav. But money never prevented him from doing a mitzvah in the most ideal possible way, with the most chumras, the most stringencies possible. But my grandfather never had a Pesach house. Apparently, says Reb Shlomo, he didn't consider it a necessary thing to do. Matzah is made, he told the Baron, matzah is made specifically from ingredients that could become chametz. Why don't we make matzah from potatoes or from rice, which cannot become chametz? It will be easier and a lot safer, guaranteed. A lot cheaper too. But only matzah must be made from flour and water, which have the tendency naturally to become chametz. Because Hashem wants us to be in a challenging place. Hashem wants us to have to pass the test in the challenge, not the easy route. The Baron looked at Reb Shlomo and thanked him for his advice and gave him a large donation as well. There was a man committed to an insane asylum due to his aberrant behavior. A few months, he goes through treatment, he's there, the doctors felt he was cured enough to let him go. The guy says, no, doc, listen, I'm not going out of here. He says, why not? He says, I can't get a job. You got to give me a letter that says I got a clean bill of health, that I'm healthy, that I'm sane, that I'm normal. You know, people are going to say, well, are you normal? Are you okay? I got to prove it. Doctor says, okay, you have a clean bill of health. Why not? What could be wrong? So they give him a letter. Not long after his release, he goes for a job interview and he answers all the questions very impressively. Very nice. A wonderful interview. The boss about to hire him. And as he's rounding it up, he says, okay, we'll get back to you in a couple days. He says, listen, you asked me a lot of questions about me, boss. I want to ask you one thing about you. And the interviewer over there, the representative of the company, he looks, he says, yeah, well, what is that? Certainly. Expecting some question about the business, but the guy leans forward, he says, listen, mister, the formerly mentally ill patient says, are you normal? So the guy looks at him a little taken aback, says, I think I'm normal. Why do you ask? He says, well, you see. And proudly he pulls out of his pocket a piece of paper. And he says, you see, you think you're normal, but I know I'm normal. I have a certificate that says I'm normal from the doctor. There have been days, there have been many, many times in the past that were misugol for geula, special opportunities that for Mashiach to come already. The writing was on the wall. The situation begged, almost propelled our nation to stop in our tracks, to do something, to merit the geula, to merit that final redemption, that cherus, that freedom. The freedom of Mashiach and Malchus Beis David back in Eretz Yisrael. Freedom physically and spiritually. But perhaps we remain certified normal. We fail to keep our focus on the right things, on the right opportunities. This Pesach, we all know we're surely in a state of turmoil. It's not normal. It wasn't something we chose, it was thrust upon us. It's our opportunity to sacrifice, to push ourselves as we prepare for this Pesach under these conditions. As we celebrate Pesach, given the conditions then situation we're in, and we use it to grow in our own personal freedom of spirituality, to grow closer to Hashem, to celebrate that freedom, that cherus that we have, to recognize the opportunity, to long for more Kedusha, for more davening, for more Yiddishkeit, and to look for the good in ourselves. Then we can cry out to Hashem that He should hold our tabak pushka, our little container of snuff, full of our tsaris, full of our worries and pains, in His strong hands as He ends this long and bitter geula, and we enjoy a night of final geula, of final redemption with Mashiach b'mheir v'yameinu. Have a good Shabbos.